So is everyone having a good time? It's so great to see you all here tonight. It's so great to see so many Democrats together, especially with Election Day next month. So I would like to officially welcome all of you to our 2018 banquet. This year's theme is Let Your Vote Be Your Voice. This was actually the winner of a slogan contest we had last year. I would also like to personally thank Secretary Castro for accepting my invitation to speak tonight. We are looking forward to hearing your message. As a county chair, I often ask new candidates, why do you want to run for office? What makes you want to get into politics? Most say some form of, I want to make a difference. I want to believe in a better society, and I want to change things for the better. And I'm sure we all agree that there is no time like the present to get involved with the current political climate and with so many lives and issues hanging in the balance. Our country, it's at a crossroads. People are scared and hurting. We heard that from candidates before. They are worried about their families, their neighbors, friends, themselves, and especially the future. I read an interesting analogy about fear. It was said at a commencement ceremony a few years ago. During the speech, the speaker compared fear to a shark. The analogy went like this. If a shark begins to approach you, rather than swim away or act afraid, you stand your ground. And if the shark, hungry for a snack, comes toward you, then you gather up all of your strength and punch him in the nose until he swims away. There are a lot of sharks in the world, and I can testify to that, being chair. And if you hope to survive, especially in the contact sport of politics, you must learn how to deal with people and not back down. So rather than run away from the current sharks, we have no choice but to stand together and fight. Whether you are scared, dismayed, or energized by the current political climate, it's time to move beyond emotion and into action. Anyone who knows me knows I say this all the time, but we have to keep remembering. Activism begins and ends at the ballot box. The next march that is planned must be to the ballot box on November 6th, not afterwards on November 7th. It's too late by then. We must stand together now with one collective voice. Not only will we start the possibility of change, but that is also how we hold our elected officials accountable and remind them that they work for us. It's not the other way around. Then and only then will we get the change that we all want and deserve. Dauphin County has been preparing for this election for a while now. We started our canvases, phone banks, and other get-out-the-vote efforts early, right after the primary election. We did not wait until the fall. Last year, Democrats swept races and won in places known to be Republican strongholds. The field operations, led by our wonderful district leaders who are here with us tonight, helped us win, yes. Sometimes people forget that even though we're all elected, these are volunteer positions. So I do want to thank everyone who is taking a part in this year's elections. But because of their hard work, Democrats swept races and won in places known to be strong Republican strongholds. The field operations led by our district leaders helped us win these important races last year. So we are going to benefit this year from the infrastructure they already put in place as we move towards Election Day next month. I would like to take this moment, as I just did, to thank everyone else other than our district leaders who are helping this year. Whether you are organizing, mobilizing, whether you're donating or volunteering. Thanks for not getting tired and pushing through that tiredness when you do. Because right now is when the fruits of all your work are going to start paying off. As we continue this journey together, we need every voice in our party and every independent thinker. We can't always criticize the other side for going along to get along and not standing for what is right without demanding it from ourselves and from with our own party and our own leaders. More voices participating in our democracy doesn't make us weak. It makes us stronger. And listening to those voices, even when we don't agree, will help us win these crucial elections, not just this year, but in years to come. As we talk to voters between now and November 6th, let's speak to the issues that matter and affect them. We need to stand for something and remember all of our candidates from the top of the ballot on down. Individual politicians may appeal to voters with their ideas, but those ideas can only be implemented by a legislative majority. So let's keep speaking to people's hopes and dreams over their fears and inspire them to set goals to reach those dreams through opportunities we create with our democratic policies. If we have concrete plans to respond to the very real challenges they are facing, then we have a great chance to win, not only this November, but in future elections also. I'm sure you all heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, but we do sometimes fail to plan. If 2016 has taught us anything, it is that elections do matter. And if we truly understand what we are fighting for, we can convey that to the voters we talk to and elect our Democratic candidates, many of which you just heard from. So yes, as everyone keeps saying, voting does matter. When people don't vote, they receive a government that does not represent them. Voting has very real consequences. It can mean the difference between whether you can afford life-saving health care. It can mean whether affording to attend college and pursuing a dream. It can determine whether justice is served through our criminal justice system and so much more. Even with all the Democratic Party's imperfections, President Obama said it best, that at its core, the Democratic Party believes that everybody counts, and in equalizing the playing field so that everyone, regardless of where you start in life, can get ahead if you are willing to work hard. So let's not just talk about what the Democratic Party stands for, but let's start showing everyone who we are with our actions. So remember to stand up to the bullies and defend the oppressed. Our nation is extremely divided right now with a very uncertain future. Voters are looking for leaders, so let's give them some. I leave you with this thought. Individually, each one of us can make a difference. However, it is together where we can make the real change. So remember to let your vote be your voice. Thank you. And now, I have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker this evening. Secretary Julian Castro was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. He was first elected to public office in 2001 when, at the age of only 26, he won election to the San Antonio City Council. In 2009, he became mayor of San Antonio, making him the youngest mayor of a top 50 American city. While in office, he brought a strong focus to improving educational achievement, which included expanding full-day pre-K for children and making San Antonio a leader in the 21st century global economy. In 2010, Secretary Castro was named to the World Economic Forum's list of young global leaders and recognized by Time magazine as one of 40 under 40 rising stars in American politics. In 2014, President Barack Obama named him Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, where he oversaw 8,000 employees and a budget of more than $46 billion. While at HUD, Secretary Castro led progress that earned the department recognition as one of the most improved federal agencies. Secretary Castro's policy achievements include instructing the Federal Housing Administration to lower mortgage insurance premiums, making home ownership more affordable for responsible families, helping families access strong neighborhoods with housing choice vouchers, and improving empowering local leaders with new tools to invest in their communities. He recently founded Opportunity First, which is a political organization supporting young progressive candidates for elected office across the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Secretary Castro a big Dauphin County welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. First of all, let me say a huge thanks and congratulations, Rajette, on a fantastic event and on your leadership. Let's give her a big round of applause for selling out tonight. I also want to commend all the elected officials that are here in the room with us for your service and leadership, and all of the first-time candidates who are running for stepping up right now when we need you the most, when from the local level to the national level, people are crying out for folks with integrity, folks that have a positive vision for the future, and that really understand their communities and are going to represent them in office. So thank you to our candidates. I have a twin brother. His name is Joaquin. Some of y'all may have seen my brother. I say that I see him these days more on CNN and MSNBC than I do in real life. He represents the 20th Congressional District in San Antonio, and he likes to go around telling people that the way to tell us apart is that I'm a minute uglier than he is. When I served President Obama in Washington, I used to say that the real way to tell us apart was that both of us lived in Washington, D.C., but he was in Congress, so I was the only one who actually worked in Washington, D.C. But don't worry, when we get George Scott and the rest of the Democrats in and take it over in January, we're going to have a Congress that works. I come from a long line of Texas Democrats like President Lyndon B. Johnson and Barbara Jordan, and the last great governor of Texas, Ann Richards.
All right.
And so it's wonderful to be here with you tonight among so many Democrats. This has been a tough week. To watch what happened in the Senate Judiciary Committee, to see credible allegations of sexual assault be swept under the rug with a sham of investigation. And the last year and a half, to see the most corrupt administration in our lifetime, to see children put in cages, to see haphazard economic policy that is hurting places like Pennsylvania, to see someone in office that doesn't have a vision for the future but wants to take us backward in so many ways. It's at times like these that all of us sometimes wonder, what are we doing here? And how can we change it? And for me, I often think these days about the president that we used to have, about President Obama, about his integrity and his vision, his leadership, his compassion. I had the honor of serving President Obama for 2.5 years as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. And I remember the day that he called me to ask me if I would take on the role. I remember that it was April 16th, 2014. And I remember that because I don't know about you, but it's not every day that the president calls you and asks you if you want a job. I had just driven through Panda Express, through the drive-thru. I was taking my food home, and I saw on my cell phone that it said private, not unknown or blocked, it said private. So I answered the phone, and it was President Obama on the other end of the line. And he asked if I was interested in moving up from being mayor of San Antonio to serve in the cabinet. And at the time, I had been mayor for almost 5 years, and I was happy where I was at. When I thought about getting into public service, I had looked forward to being mayor of my community, and we had recently passed a sales tax increase that the voters approved to significantly expand high-quality full-day pre-K. San Antonio was doing very well compared to its competitor cities. And so I wondered whether it was the right thing to do to move on. But then I thought about the reason that I got involved in public service. And I bet it's the reason that a lot of y'all are involved in what you're involved in. I got involved in public service because I have felt very blessed in this country by enormous opportunity in my life. And I wanted to help ensure through my effort that other people could have the same kind of opportunity. My brother Joaquin and I grew up on the west side of San Antonio with our grandmother and my mom. And my grandmother had come from Mexico when she was 7 with her younger sister because her parents had passed away. Their nearest relatives brought them through Eagle Pass, Texas, and ended up on the west side of that city. They took her out of school when she was in elementary, and so she worked her entire life as a maid, a cook, and a babysitter because she never got a formal education. She raised my mom as a single parent, and my mom became the first to graduate from high school and then get to go on to college. She raised Joaquin and me as a single parent after the age of 8, and we went to the public schools of San Antonio, and we were able to become the first in our family to be professionals as attorneys and then to go into public service and serve our community. Now, I know that a lawyer and a politician sounds like a nightmare to a lot of people. But for us, it was an honor to get to try and give back something that we had gotten. And I often like to tell the story of the day that we found out we had gotten into college. On April 3rd, 1992, we ran out to the mailbox and we found these 2 packets. And y'all remember that when you're applying to college, you wanted it to be a packet and not an envelope. Because if it's an envelope, it's probably a thank you, but no thank you. And we ran inside and ripped open the packets, and the letter in the packet said, "Congratulations and welcome to the Stanford class of 1996. And I wish that back then that I'd had one of the cell phones that all of us have today with a camera on it, so that I could have taken a picture of my grandmother's face when she saw her grandsons get those letters. Because she never could have imagined that that kind of opportunity would be possible for her or for my mom or even for us. And it was one of those moments in life that I'm sure many of y'all have had in your own lives and you've witnessed in your children's or grandchildren's. One of those moments that crystallizes the greatness of this country and the potential in your own life, where you can kind of see your future and know that things are going to go well. And then a couple of weeks later, we got the bill. And that wasn't such a great moment. Because at that time, the university cost between $27,000 and $28,000 per person per year. And the year that we were applying, my mother had made just under $20,000, and my grandmother was getting a few $100s in a Social Security check. And so there was no way that these women who had worked hard their entire lives could afford that opportunity for my brother and for me. And the only reason that I can stand here with the opportunity that I had is because I worked hard, I studied hard, my family worked hard, but also because there were Pell Grants and Perkins loans, and there was federal work study, because the American people made a commitment to my brother and me. That throughout our history has been when America has been at its greatest. When we expect hard work from individuals and from their families, but then when we reward that hard work with meaningful opportunity in life, no matter what the color of their skin is, or their last name, or how much money their folks have or don't have. And the thing is that today, in 2018, we need that kind of America more than ever. But we need it with a 21st century blueprint for opportunity. A few years ago, I was in India, in Chennai, which is a sister city of San Antonio. I was there on Republic Day, which is their National Day of Pride in late January. And I was watching the parade go by, and one of the folks that I was there with, a government official, casually mentioned that in that state that we were in India, there were more than 400 different engineering programs. And it made clear for me that today in this 21st century, that we're collaborating and also competing with nations around the world that are rising, that are producing tons and tons of young people with intelligence and talent and ambition, creativity, that are going to produce the companies and the ideas and the products that are going to drive prosperity in the 21st century. And that brain power is the new currency of success. That in this world, in this 21st century, the United States literally doesn't have a single person to waste. We need the child who is sitting in one of those public school classrooms that's underfunded. We need the dreamers that have so much intelligence and talent who are on pins and needles about their future. We need the young girl that dreams about becoming an engineer. We need everybody to compete and to succeed in this 21st century. A 21st century blueprint for prosperity means that we need to make healthcare universal in this country so that everybody can get healthcare. It means that we need to raise the minimum wage and make sure that folks can organize in our country. It means that we need to invest in education and make college affordable and accessible, and at least the first 2 years of college free. And it means that we need to take things like climate change seriously so that our nation is a leader. It also means that nobody is above the law. Not the President of the United States, and also not law enforcement officers when they unjustifiably kill individuals, like what happened in Chicago and the officer that just got found guilty of murder. It means that we need to pay our teachers what they deserve so that they can teach our students as effectively as possible. And I know that I'm here tonight and I'm preaching to the choir, but I wanted to come here and to do two things. First of all, I want to thank y'all for everything that you have done and that you are doing to ensure that great folks get elected that represent us at the local level, the state level, and the national level. I know that if we went around the room today that we'd probably find folks who have been at this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I hear some folks in the back saying, keep going, keep going. 40 years, 50 years. That y'all are the ones who have been the backbone of the Democratic Party here in Dauphin County and other counties in the state. That y'all are the ones who have licked the envelopes and you've knocked on the doors, you've made the phone calls, you've cajoled your friends and your relatives and your family members to go vote. And that you have those moments, especially at times like this, where you might wonder, what in the world am I still doing here? You know, when you get one of those emails that makes it seem like the sky is going to fall if you don't give $10 before midnight? Or you get defriended on Facebook or blocked on Twitter for being too political? Or you call your friends to volunteer and they're not taking your calls anymore because they know why you're calling? Or you go block walking and you knock on the door, nobody answers the door. The dog comes and barks on the other side of the door. And you knock again. And nobody answers, but through the corner of your eye, you see the blinds move. Has anybody had that happen to them? And y'all are the true campaigners. You can wonder, why in the world am I still doing this? But I believe that we're doing this because we know that there's a different direction for our community and for America. There's a direction with leaders that want to unite us instead of divide us. Folks that have integrity instead of a lack of it. People that have a vision for the future instead of being stuck in the past. Folks that want opportunity for everybody instead of just picking and choosing who gets opportunity and who doesn't based on what their religion is, or the color of their skin is, or how long they've been in this country, or where they live in the country. And that's the America that we represent. That's the America that we're fighting for. Those are the kinds of folks that we want to get elected up and down the ballot this November. My mother was an activist in this Mexican-American civil rights movement, and so when my brother and I were young, she used to drag us to speeches and to rallies, and every now and then we would go hand out literature at a polling place. And I remember that when we were 16 years old, 16 or 17, she took us to the election night festivities, the election night party of a candidate that would have been only the second woman to get elected mayor in San Antonio in 1991. And as we were walking outside of the hotel ballroom downtown in San Antonio, where they were having the election night festivities after it was winding down, my brother, my mom, and I walked out, and as we walked down the street, there was a bus stop. And a young mother was there with her 2 children. And we must have had our campaign t-shirts on. And the woman asked us, "Did we win?" And I remember the way that she asked us, because I could tell that she wasn't asking us, "Did your candidate win?" She was really asking us, "Did me and my family win? Did we all win?" We do this because we know that we've been blessed with opportunity. We do this because we know that we live in the greatest country in the world, but that we can make it even better. And because when we elect the candidates that are here tonight and other candidates across the country, everybody is going to win. America is going to win. And so, in addition to thanking you, I wanted to come here tonight and challenge you to redouble your efforts in the 32 days that we have left until November 6th. To send those emails and make those phone calls and write the $10 check, to block walk, to keep sending your friends those messages on Facebook and Twitter. Talk to people in real life, if people still do that. And know that we're fighting for a stronger community and country. And if we do that, if all of us do our part, then I know that here in Pennsylvania, that John Fetterman is going to be the lieutenant governor come November, that Tom Wolf and Bob Casey are going to get reelected to governor and senator, that George Scott is going to be our next congressman, that Lois Herr is going to get onto that state senate, that Patty Smith, Eric Epstein, and Jill Linta are going to help take back the House of Representatives here in Pennsylvania. You guys can help make that happen. Y'all are the ones that are going to make a difference in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.